And here we go with a new topic. The two Maximinis. Part 1. Nay, esse, lest there should be any fastidium, it's a bit of loathing, your clemency, great Constantine, vocative. Quos singulos principes, this just means that the single emperors, or the libros principe, or the children of emperors, to read in per singulos, to read one at a time. Ad hibi, so here I've applied moderation, so that which in one volume are the duos maximus, the two maximuses, the patrem and filium, father and son. I have congerem them, I've compiled them together in one volume. 2. Servi, so I've saved or preserved, Dainzeps in turn, this order of how he's written it. Your piety, probably put that in capital letters because it's a vocative. Even from Tatius Crillo, who was probably fictitious, a clarissimo viro, a very famous man, who he turned Greca into Latinum. He turned, must be in Greek biographies into Latin. So he's following the same order. Quod quidem, probably something like which indeed, not in one libro, not in one book, tantum merely, but even in plurimis, in many books, I will reserve in turn. So he's going to keep the same order, with the exception, here's the ablative absolute, of Magnus Imperatoribus, with the exception of the great emperors, quorum of whom, res geste plures, they've done many great deeds, and Clarius, very famous ones, which are desiderant, as deserving or longing or needing, longior textum. He's going to do longer writing about them because they're so Magnus, basically. So in these cases, he'll probably use plurimus amount of books. Maximus Senior, initiated. He shone or lived under the imperator, someone called Alexander was ruling, and however or moreover, he began coepit to militate, to serve in the military under Severus, sub Severo. 5. Hic, in a vicinity, is that one, close to barbarians, in a vico, in a village, that looks like Thrace. So he lived in a village bordering on the barbarians, and Etiam, even with a patre barbaro, with a father a barbarian, and Genitus, who was born from a mother who was a barbarian, of whom one was from Gothica, and the other from the Alans, genitus es, they say. Prohibitor, that's just another word of saying they were called, or they say he was born from a Goth and an Alan. And his patri, indeed, nomen, and the nomen, name indeed, or even of his patri, of his father, was Mica, and dictator, they say, to have been, the name of his mother was Hababa. 7. Said. It's probably not so much a but here. But even, haec nomina, these names, new plurals, Maximus, he himself prodigated these names. He produced these, he used these names in the early times, primus temporis, vero postea. But afterwards, when he venated to imperium, when he came into power, he praecipit, he gave orders for this to be occulted, to be covered up, lest, vidat rentor, it would seem that he was an emperor, genitus, born from utro qui parents barbarians. Lest it come out that he was born from two barbarian parents. Part 2. And in prima puritia, in the beginning of his boyhood, quidem indeed, he was a pastor, some sort of shepherd or whatever. Even Juventum, as a young man, he was a procer, he was a leading citizen, and one who would insiderator for latribonibus. He would lay traps or ambushes for bandits, and he would vindicate, he would protect or avenge suos, his own people, from incursions of these latrones, these bandits. His primus stipendium, his first military earnings of money, to him was in the equestria. So he rode a horse. He was a horseman, cavalry. And it was for, with the magnitude of his corporus, of his body, he was conspicuous, so he was easily seen by the size of his body. And with his virtue amongst all his military friends, he was clarus. He stood out. His forma, which is his shape, was decorous, honourable and of a man, virilely. And in moribus, in his customs or habits, he was ferus, he was a bit wild, and asper harsh, he was superbus, which is proud, he was a contemptor, I guess he would spurn people, and nevertheless, often he was justus. He was a fair, just man. Okay, so I've said the daily dictionary word, aproca. In plural, it's the nobles, chiefs, and priests, princes. And here it is, leading men of the country, of the society, or leading men in his profession as a proca. Top 2,000 words. I wouldn't say it was in the top 2,000, but apparently this site does. Back to the plot. In Oscandi, he became very notable under the Emperor Severus. These were his first courses. These are his first things he did. Natali Geta. On the birthday of Geta, the minor of the sons, the youngest of the sons, Severus Darbat, he was giving military ludos, military games, with proposed rewards, premius argentis. So he's proposed some silver prizes. Ides, this is armilis, I guess they're armbands, torquebosses, things you twist around your neck, so necklaces, and balteolus, something to do with your belts, silver belts and necklaces, etc. 5. Hic adolescence. This young man, and semi-barbarous, actually he was full-on barbarian you'd think, but and vix at this point, ad hoc, still scarcely of the Latin language, fluent of it or knowing this propi, almost in Thracian, he publicly, the adverb, petted, sought the emperor with a purpose that ought, so that Sibi for himself, he would give him the license of contending with his men, who now already were militarizing, serving in a not mediocre place. So he wanted to compete with people who were not mediocre. So the special sort of people, he wanted to compete with them. 6 of part 2. The magnitude of his body, Severus Muratus. He was admiring or a bit astonished at the size of his body. And primum, he compositated him with the lixus. Lixus are camp followers, civilians. But they were fortissimus, each one quibus busqui. Each of these were brave men, but they were lixus, they weren't actually soldiers. Lest, nay, he corrumpet, lest he corrupt military discipline. So he put him against that. And this is nearly it. Anyway, 7. Then Maximus, he devicated. He conquered in one sweat 16 lixers, 16 of these camp followers. Having accepted, see decem, 16 rewards, premius, minusculus, they were small prizes, and not for militaribusses, not for soldiers, and he was justus. He was ordered to militare, to become a soldier, or to join up with their ranks. That's it for the day.